This is
one.
Two cars this winter. A worksheet that you'll be able to fill out in the coming days. I'm Tracy Townsend.
And I'm Dave James on the Ohio News Network.
Live and local conversation for the Ohio Valley continues shortly here on the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe.
We're a farm store, a family store, a look what I found store. We're a store made for real people and some real beasts. We're a hey neighbor kind of store and an everyday low price store. We're Rural King, and we're working hard to be your favorite store.
Black Friday starts now with white hot deals, like $99 for a DeWalt Max Drill Kit or frying oil, perfect for the holidays, just $24.89.
Do you enjoy sports betting or fantasy sports? If so, know that gambling's not a way to earn your income. BeforeYouBet.org helps keep gambling fun and assesses your risk for problem gambling. Be the fan with a plan this season and take our quiz at beforeyoubet.org.
The ONN Daily Podcast. Get a recap of all the day's news from across the state. The ONN Daily Podcast. Listen at onnradio.com or wherever you download your favorite podcasts from the Ohio News Network.
CA House Music has all the gear to make your music legendary. With all the best gear, including Fender, Epiphone, Yamaha, and more, CA House will have you rocking in no time. Get the most for your money with everyday low prices. And we meet or beat internet pricing. Play before you buy and let our product specialists help you pick out the instrument that's right for you. CA House Music, supporting local musicians since 1872. Play music for life.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the Watchdog trusts.
I'm not buying till I checked on Ford.
Most of us are faced with uncertainty every day. Your job, your finances, sporting events, schooling for your children, and so much more. With so much uncertainty surrounding you, there's one auto dealership that you can be certain about, and that's Doan Ford. You can be certain that you always get a great deal and the best service afterwards. Being in business for over 50 years has given Doan Ford the reputation of being a strong, reliable dealership. Be certain. Choose Doan Ford. Online at doanford.com.
I'm not buying till
The Highlands Event Center is the area's premier destination for conferences, workshops, employment fairs, weddings, and more. With 4,000 square feet of space, the Highland Event Center can accommodate events large and small. Situated in the heart of the Highlands, guests can enjoy the many restaurants, retail stores, entertainment, and lodging options. To check out everything the Highlands Event Center has to offer, head to thehighlandseventcenter.com or call 833-639-7070.
Over the years, you've brought opioids into your home. They helped when you were in pain, and you held on to them just in case. But holding on to opioids puts your family at risk. Learn more at www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm the Storm Tracker, Darnell Foster. With a look at your local weather forecast for your Tuesday. Look for partly sunny skies, a cool day with a high near 47, overnight low of 37 degrees under partly cloudy skies. A little bit more sunshine in the way of the forecast for your Wednesday with a high near 66. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
Live and local in the Ohio Valley, this is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe.
It's a cool morning. Going to be Aaron's calling it seasonable day today. 34 degrees, Wheeling, Ohio. I'm sorry, 35. We bumped up one. 35 degrees, Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. 34 degrees here at my home studios. Bumped up a degree there as well. Still stayed at even freezing. 32 at the Robinson Auto Group Studios downtown Wheeling in the heart of the Ohio Valley. And in all cases with a little, very light wind out there. That feels like temperature a bit below the actual temperature. In fact, all three locations we're looking at 31 degrees is your feel like. So it feels a little below freezing. It is a smidgen above freezing. It's going to go up to 48 today, 66 tomorrow with some breezy winds during the day tomorrow. So watch out for that. Then it'll cool off again as the week goes on. Where have we been and where are we going this morning on the show? Coming up in the next half hour, Wheeling Area Congressman Dave McKinley explains his vote for the infrastructure bill. It's been a bit controversial. He's gotten a lot of criticism from some of his own party about that. He'll talk about why he objects to the Build Back Better bill, which is not yet passed. And we'll also talk about the upcoming Republican primary, where Donald Trump has already endorsed McKinley's opponent, Alex Mooney. It's going to be certainly one of the more interesting races in the state coming next year, the Mooney-McKinley primary in the redrawn 2nd Congressional District. So we'll talk to Dave McKinley about all of that in just a bit. A new poll came out in West Virginia yesterday. I kind of get some of it and I don't get some of it. Biden gets bad marks. Not surprising. Blood red, West Virginia, Trump state through and through. So, of course, Joe Biden is not going to be very popular. His approval rating, a little less than a third, 32% is his approval rating in West Virginia. That doesn't surprise me. But Governor Justice and Jim Manchin both have very high approval ratings. Manchin is at 60%, and Justice is, I think, pushing 70%. So I don't get that. I don't get Jim Justice being so high on the approval rating list. He's not a flash figure or an instant support figure for Republicans. He was a Democrat turned Republican. He has had a lot of problems with his own party in the legislature. I don't get why Jim Justice is so popular. Although, Biff, you may be right. It may be because he gives away stuff.
Yeah, it might be the Do It for Baby Dog sweepstakes or whatever you want to call it that he's had.
And I kind of joked about this last hour, but maybe it's not really a joke. People it's a smart move on his part. People like Baby Dog. I mean, people who despise Jim Justice, they like Baby Dog. I mean, I've had good, strong, solid Democrats come to me and say, Howard, do you think there's any way you could get me a picture of Baby Dog? It's like, you've got to be kidding me. So maybe Baby Dog is where, maybe Baby Dog. I would like to see, I'm going to call Mark Blankenship. Next poll, put Baby Dog in the poll. What's Baby Dog's popularity in the state, huh? Bet he's close to 100%, Biff.
Sadly, I think he would beat I think it's a she. She would beat the governor.
I think you're absolutely right. And as somebody said, is it Brad McElhenney has often said to us, I wish I knew what she was thinking. That look on her face is kind of like, what the hell am I doing here?
Oh, if that dog could write a book, oh my.
The thoughts of Baby. I still think somebody will do that. The thoughts of Baby Dog. Pictures of Baby Dog and what's Baby Dog thinking. Anyway, that new poll is intriguing to me. Justice and Manchin, thumbs up. Biden, thumbs down. The Biden thing doesn't surprise me, but the other stuff kind of intrigues me. Also, later on, I want to talk about your worst Christmas present ever. Do you have one, Biff, in your head? Is there a single Christmas present you ever got that was just terrible when you were a kid, or now, for that matter?
Yeah, I do, but we can wait.
Okay, well, that's good. I always have a hard time with that. Hoppy asked me this question. Usually on Christmas Eve, Hoppy does an at-home, and all of his regular contributors like me get on, and he asks questions. And on a couple of occasions, he's asked, "What's the worst Christmas gift you've got?" I don't know. I don't remember bad things. I tend to remember good things at Christmas time. I remember bad things otherwise, but Christmas time, I remember good things. So we'll talk about that. And will you have a vaccine mandate at your family Thanksgiving dinner? Apparently, some people will. That's what I have coming up this morning here on the Watchdog Morning Show. Our national correspondent, Tom Squitieri. Is Tom with us? Yes, he is. Tom Squitieri is here to talk about, and I got a lot of things I want to get into with Tom, so let's just get right to it and say good morning, Mr. Squitieri, sir.
Good morning. Happy Tuesday.
It's always happy Tuesday when you are here with us. You had told me you might be traveling. Were you traveling or not with the SecDef?
That's going to be on Thursday, fingers crossed.
This coming Thursday. Okay.
It's coming this Thursday. It should be a short trip. I can talk about it next Tuesday if it happens. He's always last-minute things, but happy to talk about it in full detail when I know what I can talk about. I don't know yet.
Okay. I misunderstood. I thought it was this past week, so I got you. Tom, there's a story that there's some Capitol Hill stuff I want to get to maybe in a minute, but I want to go right to the Pentagon because there's a story yesterday that really intrigued me, and it has to do with this Russian weapons test that occurred.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
That was. They've created, they being the Russians, have created a bit of a mess up in space, haven't they?
You're being generous to them, Howard. It's a big mess. This is a very intriguing story on several quick levels. One is that it shows the Russians now have the capacity to essentially blow a satellite out of a space. We have that capacity. China has it. India has it. At least dozen of the nations we know who have it. Now the Russians have it. That, of course, from a Pentagon's military perspective, is scary and dangerous. I'm talking to you now on my cell phone, which could be useless, should those satellites be taken out, for example. That's a civilian application and we all can relate to. The military has many more. Here's the other thing. It caused a lot of debris up there, more so than the other tests from the aforementioned nation. There was so much debris that the Russian astronauts, or cosmonauts, in the International Space Station several times had to take evasive maneuvers because every 90 minutes or so they had to pass through that debris. We think about space as being wide open, and of course it is, but in our atmosphere, there's so many satellites alone, there's some space junk, and now with this debris, it's a very dangerous situation. It could harm satellites unintentionally. So the Russians didn't alert anybody ahead of time to this test to further put, in jeopardy some dangerous satellites or perhaps the space station. So, and Pentagon, as I said, is very troubled by it. So that's kind of the short synopsis of what happened over the weekend, and no pun intended, the fallout from it.
It really is a reminder. It really is a reminder that, two things. We have a huge amount of commercial and military activity going on in space with satellites, communications in most cases. more than I think we ever stop to think and realize how much of what's happening down here is coming from communication
Up there.
with satellites. And then the second thing is how sensitive they are, and they can be, all of those satellites, military or commercial, to debris. And when you have a manufactured debris field, the Russians, and it wasn't an attack. I mean, I guess it was their own satellite.
It was their own satellite, yeah.
It was a test to make sure they could do it. But now all of this is just floating around up there, and you think this one test creates this kind of problem. How, as the years go by, space debris is going to be a real serious issue.
Oh, I'm sorry to correct you, but it already is, Howard. And there's been, no, I mean, I don't mean to be, smart here on this. There have been conferences where this issue has been discussed. The United States and other nations have tried to get, the sort of the space age countries to work together to clean up debris. In other words, send vehicles or something up there discussing how can we get rid of some of this debris that is floating in outer space. So the problem, even before this Russian activity over the weekend, is real, and part of it is, as I sort of mentioned before, probably not as clear. There are just unused satellites now that have, they're no longer they're not working or anything like that, floating around up there, which is also an issue because sometimes their guidance systems are gone, or if they even existed, there's some of the early stuff that was shot up there was just put into orbit and not really with guidance systems. So it's very crowded up there, and a lot of that stuff is uncharted, and that's part of the issue with the debris, that we might know where satellite A, B, or C is in its orbit at least. We don't know where the debris will be because it's debris.
But that strikes me as something that the Space Command or NASA or somebody is going to have to start tracking on a more efficient basis. Certainly they're tracking this particular debris, what do you call it, debris field, I guess, that came from the Russian missile. Tracking debris is going to become a pretty important thing, I think.
Yes, you're right.
Or, as you say, already is a very important thing, yeah.
Well, as you point out, too, we forget about this. Like I said, I'm talking on a cell phone to you. People use GPS all of the time without even thinking twice anymore about it. All these wonderful additions we get come in large part because of satellite technology. That alone would change the way Americans live. It wouldn't destroy their way of life, but clearly would change it. But from a military perspective, of course, it's very important most of the time.
That story really caught my attention yesterday, and I guess because I'm a space buff anyways. Mm-hmm. And I think also we sometimes don't realize how sensitive, when you're up in low Earth orbit up there, how sensitive any satellite or the space station in particular can be to even the tiniest amount of debris. Forget a big debris field with, hunks of satellite. Even small amounts of debris can create serious problems.
That's right. It is a problem we don't pay attention to much here down on Earth, but the Pentagon is well aware of it, and those who, commercial companies who deal with the satellites are well aware of it. And again, the whole idea of the way this test was conducted, not letting people know in advance, and it's not going to be secret because once you do it, we all know about it, obviously. Yeah. So there was no reason to kind of try to keep it secret. And it was the type of explosion. The Chinese, when they did their test, and the Indians, it was more of a capture of the satellite as opposed to just blowing it up. And that caused less problems. Those caused less problems than this one.
Any reason to assume that this was intended to be a capture and turned out to be a mistake? I have never thought about that. You just said that right now.
I don't. That's a good question. I didn't think of that. We didn't get any indication of that from the briefing yesterday. No one asked that question, to be honest, and that's a good one to follow up with to see the next couple of days. And that's a really good question. Let me just leave it there for now. Then I'll time on it later if I can't get an answer.
All right, let's stay with the Pentagon just for a minute here. We've talked several weeks now about about family members of the American military left in Afghanistan, getting people out and so on. This is still continuing to be an issue of concern for the Pentagon.
It is, and about 2 weeks ago, they told us last week, 2 weeks ago, the Pentagon sent a memo around to the services trying to get better information on how many family members of U.S. service personnel are still in Afghanistan. Let me be clear as to what we're talking about here. This is a narrow area. In other words, if you or I were in the military, we're in the military, and have family members in Afghanistan, that could be a spouse, an Afghan spouse, or anyone, the Pentagon wanted to know the details to try to help arrange to get them out. And so from this memo, they've already heard from 60 service members who have family members in Afghanistan. So we can guess there's at least 60 people there, each one member having at least one family member there. They could have children or whatever. So now that gives the Pentagon better information yet to get these folks out. On the positive side, Secretary of State Blinken was talking the other day about how flights are increasing. The Qatar government has been very helpful. By the way, it was announced over the weekend the Qatar government will represent U.S. interests in Afghanistan, so there's a good tie-in there with Qatar getting flights out, charter flights out for Americans and others seeking leave. So, yeah, this is still an issue, Howard, of both Americans, relatives of Americans who want to come out. The Secretary of State thinks by the end of the year, everybody who wants to come out will have gotten out.
Tom, before I bring this back to Capitol Hill and a couple of things happening politically, just one last item out of the, I guess it's out of the Pentagon. The Pentagon folks say they're looking at civilian harm incidents. What's that mean?
That's Pentagonese for innocent people being killed by the military. The New York Times, in some brilliant reporting over the weekend, talked about an airstrike in Syria near the ending days of the successful battle against ISIS that killed at least 60 to 80 civilians and wounded a lot more. No real indication of ISIS fighters in the area. Read the story is horrifying. It could have been done by a special forces unit that doesn't report to Central Command, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And attempts by those in the military to have an investigation of it were thwarted. Just a terrible story. Now, remember, this comes up on the heels of the August 29th drone strike in Kabul, where 10 innocent people were killed. Again, the New York Times reported that. Neither of these incidents were made public until, I'm patting the media on the back here, until the New York Times, in this case, both cases, did a stellar job on both in reporting it out. So John Kirby, the spokesperson at the Pentagon, said, oh, well, by the way, there's two reviews, not investigations, but reviews going on generally of how the Pentagon acts in how they harm civilians. One, it deals with Syria overall. Another, he was more vague about. So, this is a real problem, and it kind of goes back a little bit to what we were talking about satellite technology. This is a negative. You're relying on drones and satellite eyes in the sky that aren't always the same. Out of the Syria story, Howard, there was one report, the New York Times reported that one group had really good optics from their drone sighting, and the other was fuzzy. So, you tend to rely on these things, but you're being, what's the right word here? You're being careless, or you're not being careful, you're not being diligent in comparing and contrasting. And one of the reports that came out for the drone strike in Kabul, same thing here, is that there were people saying, well, wait a minute, let's take a better look at this. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. And that those sort of warnings or concerns were ignored. So this is a big issue. And I think my hunch is it's more widespread than we know, because the Pentagon never likes to admit these things. If you look at numbers from international organizations of civilians killed in war zones, not just by Americans, but just civilians killed, the numbers there are always higher than what respective militaries report. Now, there's going to be divergence, but the numbers are so greatly different that you have to wonder where the real number is.
Let me come to back home for a minute here in D.C. I tied these two stories together because they're both conspiracy-type people. Steve Bannon is... he turned himself in, I guess, and appeared before a judge because he had originally defied a congressional subpoena for the January 6th incident. He's out, I think, on his own recognizance now, and I still don't know if he's going to testify or not. So that's one interesting story of what I call a conspiracy guy. I think Bannon is one. The other one is that Alex Jones, sort of the founder of the conspiracy theories anymore, the guy from InfoWars, was found liable in the Sandy Hook defamation lawsuit and brought against him. I think both of those were kind of interesting.
It's interesting they came almost the same time as well. You know, there's still a whole part of our country where laws matter and defamation matters. You know, the whole Alex Jones case is fascinating. Those parents have not given up, and nor would I if I was a parent there, and I'm sure you wouldn't either. You know, this is wrong to do this stuff, and individuals have to answer. Steve Bannon, you know, it's been commonplace now for people just to defy congressional subpoenas. They did it when Congress was trying to subpoena people when President Trump was in office. You know, now President Biden's in office, they're still defying it. This is a subpoena to appear before Congress, and if you choose not to do that, which is your choice, you should face circumstances and go before a judge and explain to him or her why you feel you shouldn't have to go. And that's what Bannon's going to do. So, you know, we'll see what happens, like you said, if he eventually testifies and eventually what happens to Alex Jones. But, you know, I think some people in this country are tired of what's been going on. It's two sides fighting with each other, and we're losing what's accurate and what's important to, you know, sort of the bedrock of what makes our democracy strong.
Under the Trump
and
administration.
sorry, Howard, but let me just go back. I'm going to go back to say about the New York Times. Again, you know, this is what our democracy is also about. When the press becomes a voice for the voiceless.
Oh, I absolutely agree. President Biden signed the infrastructure bill yesterday. He's going to go out and try and sell it now. Republicans who voted for it are in the House are still having their own problems with their own party, interestingly enough.
Yeah, and Liz Cheney, I just saw a report last night that now the Republican committee in Wyoming voted 31 to 29, pretty close, that she's no longer permitted to be called a Republican. Okay, so okay, all right. Liz Cheney is a conservative Republican. I say that, you know, pretty clear on that one. That's not much hedging on that. But you said this last week, I think, Howard. Well, I want to see the Republicans who did not vote for the bill show up for ribbon cutting ceremonies, you know, in their districts when the shovels hit the ground next spring and those projects that people are seeing that we need. See if they take credit for it.
One of those Republicans who voted for the bipartisan infrastructure bill was Wheeling area Congressman Dave McKinley, a Republican, and he, because of redistricting, will meet another incumbent Republican, Alex Mooney, in next year's election. Mooney voted against the bill and has been making this a big deal with McKinley having voted for it. Trump came out yesterday and endorsed Mooney, McKinley's opponent. We're going to talk to Dave in the next half hour, as a matter of fact, Congressman McKinley in the next half hour. Part of me wonders, has he, with all the criticism he's getting, has he thought maybe I just shouldn't have done that? Yeah, I mean, Republicans
I think
going after each other quite a good bit.
West Virginia voters will have a choice. I mean, there's, I'm sure, other issues between the two men that are going to be important. But you know, I mean, if I'm a West Virginia citizen, I don't presume to tell people what to do anywhere. But I'd be pretty happy if my area needs infrastructure repairs like the rest of the country, and there's a bill that at least maybe can start work on some of them. I'm, you know, really hedging it there, but hey, we're not getting anywhere. Infrastructure, you know, Howard. I did a tryout when I got my first job in Washington, D.C. as a journalist. One of my tryouts was writing a story on a report that came out from Congress about the need for infrastructure repairs. This was 1979. I wrote that story. And I say that because since then we've been talking, seriously, you know, we're talking about infrastructure bills and this and that, and we haven't seen any. 1979.
The more things change, the more they stay the same, right?
Yeah, but I have gray hair now.
Yeah. Tom, have a safe trip if you're traveling this week, and hopefully we'll talk to you next week about how things went. Appreciate your time today, as I always do.
Thanks. Have a good week. Bye-bye.
All right, it is Tom Squitieri, our national correspondent, covers the Pentagon on a fairly regular basis when he's in D.C. He'll be traveling, I think, with the SecDef later this week. I misunderstood. I thought he was doing it this past weekend. He'll be traveling with the Secretary of Defense next week, so we'll get some inside info maybe on that when we get together. All right, it's 8:33, 27 till the hour. Dave McKinley did vote in favor of the bipartisan infrastructure bill. I think that was a positive, right vote, but I don't know that he wants my support. His opponent in the upcoming primary next year is Alex Mooney, and he's really been aggressively speaking against against McKinley. Yesterday, Donald Trump endorsed Mooney. I'll talk to Dave McKinley about his vote, why he is not in favor of the next bill, the Build Back Better bill, and how he's handling the criticism that's coming down and how he sees the upcoming election. Dave McKinley with us coming up next segment on the Watchdog Morning Show. First, Ohio Valley headlines.
The WTRF Channel 7 News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Now it's time for...
I need my morning hug, buddy. Hi, pal.
This watch doesn't do anything right.
What is that? Well, you know what? I will fix it for you when we get off the air, okay? Hey, you didn't give me a good big hug, okay. Are we going to Zoom together here in a little bit? I'll be out there to help you Zoom, okay? Close the door, Teddy. Thank you, buddy. All right, let me know when David's on the line. Thank you. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
the nation in goals against, number 18 in goal differential. Also, West Virginia's shutout percentage, good for number 25 in the nation. The WVU men's basketball team leaving today for Charleston, South Carolina. They'll take part in the Charleston Classic starting on Thursday when they meet up against the Phoenix of Elon. The other side of the bracket has West Virginia taking on either Marquette or Ole Miss in the second game. The other 4 teams in the tournament, St. Bonaventure, who is nationally ranked, Boise State, Clemson, and Temple. That is today's Mountaineer Report, brought to us by Kroger, the official grocer of WVU Athletics. I'm Tony Caridi on the Mountaineer Sports Network from Learfield.
The Variety Show with Bill DeFabio is live on the Watchdog Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. We talk to some of the region's best business owners while keeping you informed about area events and happenings. You won't believe who I have on next. Tune in and get with the program. Guests from preachers to pros and even some Super Bowl champions. Join me, Bill DeFabio, from noon to 2 for The Variety Show on the Watchdog.
It's Menards' last 11% rebate sale of 2021. Organize your home with a new Dakota closet system. They come in a wide variety of sizes and styles to match your specific needs. Dakota closet systems cut down on clutter. So get organized and save with 11% off all Dakota storage solutions. Menards' last 11% rebate sale of 2021 is good through Wednesday, November 24th. Savings are mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new
Okie dokie, thank you.
eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Toyota's full lineup of four-wheel and all-wheel drive vehicles combine our legendary reliability with the safety and handling necessary to take on any terrain, element, or adventure that comes your way. And with 12 available models, including Camry, Venza, and the all-new Corolla Cross, there's a style for everyone. Visit buyatoyota.com for the latest offers and to find a dealer near you. Toyota, your four-wheel and all-wheel drive specialists. Let's go places.
Highland Sports Complex is the coolest destination for sports and entertainment the Ohio Valley has ever seen. Hop in for some open basketball in our field house or reserve some turf time for your next practice or game on our synthetic fields. Online registration is open for development classes and leagues for youth and adults. Highland Sports is also the hottest destination for birthday parties and other events. So come challenge yourself on our play climb and enjoy your favorite virtual reality game in the arcade. No memberships required, so visit highlandsports.com to find your next entertainment experience and get ready to reach new heights.
Gotta get back to Nailers Hockey. Join us for the party Thanksgiving Eve, Wednesday, November 24th at West Banco Arena. Puck drops at 7:10. The Thanksgiving Eve game features $2 beers. Plus, enjoy the always entertaining Turkey Bowling Contest. 30 seasons, 1,000 victories, and a Thanksgiving Eve party at the arena. You gotta get back to Nailers Hockey, proud affiliates of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Get tickets now. Call 304-234-GOAL or go to wheelingnailers.com.
Keep up with the ever-changing world of sports all night long. Sports Map Radio is on the Watchdog, FM 98.1, AM 1600.
Miss a part of the show? Want to hear a segment again? Check out our podcast page at watchdognetwork.com. The Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe continues.
35 degrees at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport, 35 degrees here at my home studio in the Elm Grove section of Wheeling, 35 degrees downtown at the Robinson Auto Group Studios in the heart of the Ohio Valley. The 35 degrees feels like 31 all across the board, and it's cloudy outside. Going to clear up a little bit, though. Daytime high will be around 48 today, 66 tomorrow, so going to be a good couple of days maybe to get your holiday decorations out. Biff, sometimes you got to hear it said in just plain old language. Stephen said during the newscast there a minute or two ago, 4 days away from the Christmas parade. I mean, I knew that, but you hear it said that way, it's like, yikes. 4 days away from the start of from the Christmas parade, which is the real, I mean, that's when Santa Claus really comes to town. You know what I'm saying, Biff?
Oh, he'll be in town on Friday night.
He will indeed. Let's talk to Wheeling Area Congressman Dave McKinley. Congressman, good morning and welcome to the show. Good to talk to you.
Well, good morning, and good to talk to you as well. Listen to the storm yesterday coming through, driving through the mountains. They had, quite frankly, it had a hell of a snowstorm. I saw cars in the ditch. There must have been 3 or 4 inches of snow coming through the mountains yesterday. So we got a break back in Wheeling. It was brutal coming through the mountains with all the snow. But then you get over here to Washington and it heated up a little bit. So I'm interested that we're going to get back up to 66 before the end of the week. That's maybe you can come up and help me out. Well, I'm not in Wheeling, so I need some help getting some of my stuff done around the house. Howard, you up for it? Come on, Howard.
Yeah. Hey,
So
listen,
we've known each other
come on,
too long.
Dave, I'm an old man now. I don't do that. I have kids who do that for me now.
Hey, and I'm a senior citizen on fixed income, so I could use your help, Howard.
I understand that. Real quick, just talk about snow. I want a little tiny bit of snow on Thanksgiving, a little bit more on Christmas Eve, just to make it feel Christmas Eve-y, and then it can go away for the rest of the year. That's the way I look at it.
Thank you. I know it's winter and we just have to get used to it. I struggle some getting into it, firing up the boiler and all, and trying to get things going. It's just, but it's winter. We just have to get used to it. I smile and I kept thinking as I drove through the mountains, this is a little much, a little early to have this kind of storm. And I can think about those individuals that their car was in a ditch. Their day wasn't going to go very well. So, Howard, it is what it is. We'll get through all this. You and I have been around for enough.
That's right. Dave, Congressman, let's talk a little bit about your vote on the infrastructure bill. And, man, you've taken a lot of flack for that from some in your own party. Does it bother you?
Well, certainly it bothers me. I'm not thick-skinned. I care about people in West Virginia, and that's what it came down to, quite frankly. My leadership was saying that we don't want to give Joe Biden a win. And I told him, I said, I'm not voting to give Joe Biden a win. I'm voting for West Virginia, period. Howard, I'm 7th generation West Virginia. You and I have known each other for decades. Everything, to me, revolves around what our future could be. When they said that we want to turn it down, and I kept thinking, I haven't had a chance in 11 years to vote on an infrastructure package that when we've needed it so desperately. When I go around Howard to county commission meetings or municipality, anyone, from mayors to council, all these people, they're all saying that's the first thing we need is infrastructure. Sewer, water lines, broadband. Down Clarksburg or Morgantown, they'll talk about we need improvements to our airport if we're going to remain competitive. Zach Abraham in Wheeling talking about how we need more money up at the airport in Wheeling. On and on and on. It's all infrastructure. I talked to the governor about it, and Jim came out. The governor came out and said how much it was important. He said, "I need your vote on this." So when it came down, I had to make a choice. Is this party politics, or is it good for West Virginia? And it's obvious. I took it's right for my constituents. This is what they've asked for, and this is what we gave them. But you're right, Howard. Some of my party don't like it, and they're angry with me. We've had the threats, and it's disturbing that people can't have an adult conversation with each other. They can disagree. You and I will disagree on a lot of things, but over the years, we've learned to be able to talk to each other. And I want to try to return that civility, try to demonstrate we're willing to talk to people if they'll just listen and let us listen to them about what their perspective. But clearly, Howard, the most important thing that could come from this conversation is there are two separate bills. Two separate bills.
Right.
First bill was infrastructure. The second is the liberal spending bill that they want to have at the end of the year. There is in the first bill there were no tax increases. There was nothing about amnesty. There was nothing on in that piece of legislation that led to the social programs. It was an infrastructure bill, period. But somehow people got them confused.
It was a bipartisan bill coming out of the Senate. I mean, you had, among others, Senator Capito and Manchin both working on that bill. I mean, you had Republican support in the Senate as it came out of the Senate. It was probably as close as we're going to get in this day and age to a bipartisan bill. It was not a strictly party line bill.
Oh, you're right.
Listen, you may not want to be able to use my support because your supporters may not like me, but I think you did the right thing. I mean, I think that's the way that's the way elected officials need to look at things. Do you want to do what's right for the state, not what's right for politics? And Congressman, what I find interesting is your opponent, and also Donald Trump, among others, are focusing only on politics. I haven't heard any legitimate argument against the bill. I haven't heard anyone say, here's a reason that bill was bad, other than we just don't want to give Joe Biden a victory.
I was taken back by that, quite frankly, because the president, Trump wanted to pass his own infrastructure bill, but politics, as they are in Washington, Nancy Pelosi prevented a vote for it for 4 years. We never got a chance to vote on Donald Trump's infrastructure bill, and the 6 years previous to that, with Obama wanted to pass an infrastructure bill, and John Boehner and Paul Ryan blocked that. So there was never a vote. We never had a vote in 10 years. Now, finally, in the 11th year, at the end of the 11th year, we get a chance to vote on infrastructure. I'm taking it. West Virginia is long been overlooked. We've had serious difficulties. I've got counties in let's just say over in Paw Paw, West Virginia. It's in Morgan County. It's not my district, but they've got their cost for their customers. They've got over like $20,000 per customer that would cost them to fix up it's some $20 million they have to have in repairs to their water system. And when I've talked to the rural water district, they said they're never, ever going to be able to fix it when it costs that much. It has deteriorated so much that we cannot allow, the Public Service Commission with Charlotte Lane would never allow a rate increase to cover $20,000 per household. So as a result, they're going to continue to have bad water. The kids are going to be exposed to lead. On and on and on. I'm outraged over it. So here we have a chance. To get money from the federal government, which is taxpayer support. But for once, West Virginia is going to be able to get some money for sewer and water lines, take care of Paw Paw, take care of Wellsburg, take care of Farmington, West Virginia, the areas that have had bad water in Clarksburg that had lead water lines, that children were put in hospitals because of their lead poisoning. We're going to be able to have the money now to take care of it. And for someone to play politics, I'm sorry. I just couldn't do that. And you're right. Some of the people opposing it, but this was an extension of what two previous presidents have wanted to do. But because of politics, they weren't able to. I'm not going to play politics. Howard, you know me better than that.
You know, Congressman, you are opposed to you just referenced the second bill, the Build Back Better bill. Some people call it the social spending bill. You are opposed to that bill, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, that's the one. It's got things like, for example, for us in West Virginia, it's got a tax on natural gas and methane gas. That's going to ultimately increase the cost of goods and services with that because it's going to be passed on. They're trying to raise revenue, and this is one way to do it. So let's tax natural gas. We're now, what's the statistic? I think we're the fourth or fifth largest producer of gas in America. Howard, that's incredible. Think 20 years ago, we were not on anyone's radar. But because of the Marcellus and Utica, now we're producing gas. It's giving us a revenue stream. It's giving us job opportunities. It's giving us a chance for diversification of our economy. And now they want to put a tax on that. So I'm not in favor of that. They're in the bill. There are $80 billion in new IRS agents that they're going to be doing surveillance over bank accounts. I know under Trump we tried to cut back on millionaires to be able to write off some of their taxes on their 1040 on their income tax. So we reduced that down to I think at $10,000 or $12,000. For some reason in this bill, they're increasing that back up to $80,000. Howard, I don't want to subsidize millionaires in around the country in states like New York, California, or elsewhere. That's what they were holding out for, is that states they have high tax rates, they want to be able to deduct all their taxes, and I don't want to do that. I think that's somehow we want to have, because I'm a conservative on this, we've got to get a point where we're back to some fiscal responsibility. So yeah, I'm opposed to the bill. It's got too much.
Are you opposed to the?
Well,
Congressman, are you opposed to?
Let me add. There are some interesting things in it. I will acknowledge that. I will acknowledge. But what I'm saying, Howard, my process is a little different than some of the other members here in Congress. Obviously, I think all these matters, whether it's amnesty or tax on gas or tax breaks for millionaires or state funding of abortions, all those things. Let's have hearings on it. Let's let it go through the process to allow us to discuss these matters and amend them in committee. But that's not what happened. This was a bill that was brought out in one package, and this is it. We can't amend it, and I don't think that's the process. I like being able to hear it in committee. I'd like to have heard testimony from people from around the country about the advantages or disadvantages of taxing natural gas. I'd like to understand more of the advantages and disadvantages of having more IRS agents. But we didn't have that. This is an up or down vote. So clearly, if they want to play that game, I'm a no vote. Go ahead.
That was going to be my question. Do you oppose the bill on its on the things that are in it, or are you primarily concerned about the funding mechanisms that fund the bill?
Oh, I think more what's in it, because we had no opportunity to process it, to run it through. Let's offer some committee amendments to it. None of that happened. Yes, some of the things I have some concerns about how we pay for it, but more importantly, just take the Hyde Amendment, Howard. The Hyde Amendment that was passed, I think it was in 1976. And it just said no federal funding for abortions. And it has survived Democrat presidents and Republican presidents. It has survived Democrat-controlled Congresses and Republican. But all of a sudden, this new group that's influencing Nancy Pelosi have demanded that be removed for the first time since '76. I'm a rock hard right to life person, and I'm unwavering on it. And I've talked to Joe Manchin about it, and Joe has assured us that he's going to do everything he can to get that language reinserted, because it's not in the House bill, to have it reinserted to take care of that. So I've got to see that that's in there. I can't vote for something that where we go pre-1976, where we're funding abortions again.
David, I want to ask you one last question, and time's running short real quick. You have had, let's be honest about it, pretty smooth sailing in your re-election bids since you were first elected. This could be a tougher one in your primary with Alex Mooney. Trump endorsed Mooney just yesterday. A, do you worry about the Trump endorsement? And B, how do you perceive this upcoming election, this primary?
I think it's going to be very difficult, but I think it's going to come down to whether or not what do people want? They want someone that's going to play politics, or do they want someone that has represented West Virginia now? As you know, Howard, I was in the legislature back in the 80s and early 90s, and now I have 11 years in Congress. I'm hoping people will have come to know me and trust me, that my judgment, I'm listening to what they want. I'm not playing politics. I'm going to do what's right for West Virginia. I'm hoping that they will respect that, and I'll have the opportunity to serve. This is not about Donald Trump, because I have a better voting record than my opponent. Actually, 80, and then I'm 92 and he's 87. But on this one, he wanted to make this a political agenda, and I don't agree with it. This was right for West Virginia, Howard, and I have no.
Congressman, I have to move on. It's always good talking to you. I suspect with the upcoming election in particular, we'll talk a lot more in the near future. But thank you for joining us today. Drive carefully if you hit those snow-covered roads again, will you?
Thank you. You take care, Howard. Bye now.
All right, talk to you later. Wheeling Area Congressman Dave McKinley. It's 9 o'clock. ABC's got the world for us right now.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
In the midst of some already...
All right, Biffy, we've got Chuck Collins coming up next. And I need to look here and see if it's 9:10 or 9:15. I've got him at 9:15, so we'll do something before him. Let me know when he's on the line. I am going to go check in on Teddy for a minute. I'll be back. Thanks.